Radio TV Phono Nut here, and we can't let Shango have all of the fun with the transistor radios, so I decided to pull one out. This is an Audition, which was the house brand for Woolworth, I do believe. Battery-operated AM transistor radio that was made in Japan, and obviously it's made to look like an old-timey wall telephone. Now, I'm sure most of you are familiar with a company called Guild Electronics. They were very big into the novelty radio business. And one of the things they made was a wall telephone that was actually a radio and this was made probably from about 1956 up through the early to mid-70s in some form or another. They made an AM-only tube version, an AM-FM tube version. I believe there was also an AM-only version that had an intercom built in it. And then later they made an AM-FM solid-state version. I have one of the older tube versions from about 56 or so. And then I have the AM-FM solid-state version from about 1974, and they look identical on the outside. They didn't change the appearance of them much, but there were some companies who made copies of those radios, or, of course, some of the copies weren't very good, but this is one of them. There's also a tube-type radio that looks almost just like this one here. In fact, I used to own one. I saw it at an older lady's house years ago. I was probably a teenager, and I fixed her television, and I saw the radio hanging on her wall, and I asked her about it, and she told me how she acquired it and all that good stuff. And I said, well, if you ever decide to sell it, let me know. I'd be interested. And she said, well, how much will you give me for it? And keep in mind, the thing was covered in kitchen grease and all that. It was filthy dirty and just barely worked. And I think I offered her $20 or $25 for it, and she let me know she wasn't that hungry yet. So I left and forgot about it. About 6 months later, she called me and said if I still wanted that radio for $25 to come buy it. So I did. I don't even remember whatever happened to it, but I no longer have it. It was a 5-tube set, but I think the chassis was American-made, and there was no brand on it nowhere, but it was in a cabinet just like this. Cosmetically, this one needs to be cleaned up, and some nicks need to be patched up on it, but overall, it's in pretty good shape. And on the back, all it says is Audition 8 transistor. But of course, don't let that fool you, because sometimes they padded the transistor count to make a radio appear better than it actually was, like using transistors as diodes and wiring transistors in parallel, and even sticking dud transistors in places that nothing else was even connected to them. Now, I don't know who made these radios for Woolworth, but I've seen this brand on many of them, of their radios, including those little cheapo 5-tube radios from Japan, like we've done videos on in the past. Alright, here we are opened up, and the chassis looks fairly decent. We have a nice sizable ferrite rod antenna, open air tuning capacitor, which I like those better than the little plastic enclosed square things. And there's the main chassis. And they were nice enough to even give us a schematic diagram. Have a look at the schematic here. From what I can see of it, this doesn't look like a padded transistor count, so that's good. So we have our oscillator transistor, our mixer transistor, first IF, second IF, detector diode, AF amplifier, driver transistor, and then our 2 output transistors in push-pull, and as you can see, everything's transformer coupled, which was pretty typical back then. So, theoretically, this should be a pretty decent radio. Looking at the battery holder, it looks like the positive contact is missing, so we'll have to come up with something for that. But as much room as we have in the cabinet, we can add an aftermarket battery holder. That won't be a problem. How many batteries does this take? Does this say? It might, but I certainly can't see it. Can't really see that either. Okay, size C. That's what I figured. Okay, I have no idea if this works. I've never applied power to this before. We'll find out for the first time together here. So I have the radio connected to a 6-volt source, and we'll turn it on and see what happens. Might just work.
4 of the 5 scored in double figures. The only one without was Ty. Over a big statue. They tried to get 8.
Said no millionaire ever. 0% on my HVAC caused me to become wealthy.
Did he say 8-track?
Whether or not a local jurisdiction, and also Rudy Gay. The legend.
Well, this one seems to be working. Pot needs to be cleaned, but so this one might not be as exciting as some of our videos, so maybe all we need to do to this one is clean the pot and fix up some kind of battery holder and clean this thing up, and we'll have a working radio here. And I just so happen to have a 4 C-cell holder that I believe I actually ordered for this radio when I got it, and saw that the battery holder was damaged and just never got around to putting it in there. And as you can see, it connects via a 9-volt snap connector. We should be able to find one of those around here somewhere.
Was arrested on Thursday on suspicion of sabotaging more than 500 doses of coronavirus vaccine by deliberately removing them from refrigeration. Nearly 60 of the doses in question were administered before hospital officials determined...
All right, here we are with the new battery holder installed. There's plenty enough room here.
USA Radio News Bureau.
Heck, as much room as I've got here, I could have put a couple of 6-volt lantern batteries in here.
First discovered in the United States. Said Friday that the strain was found in travelers arriving from James with a few dribble tries to right wing.
From floor to CEO, the incredible journey of Herman Cain, available at SalemNow.com.
Alright, there's WSM coming in loud and clear tonight. And the alignment looks to be right on. That's right about at 650.
That's what the state is. Amazing years because
USA Radio News, Phoenix Bureau. Which provides to say anything. Maybe it's well, you know.
Alright, all this one needs is some cleanup and some batteries. Alright, here we are back together, and I cleaned it up a little bit and used my stain pen to kind of fill in some of the scratches where they won't look so obvious. And I found a set of 4 C-cells to put in here and tape the wires up so they won't be in the way of anything. I don't know exactly how old this is, but I'm guessing probably mid-60s if I had to make a guess. I looked on eBay for these Audition brand radios, and it seems they also made a Spice Chest transistor radio that looks just like the old Guild Spice Chest tube version. And there were also a few of these phone radios on there that go for various amounts of money. I saw one that didn't sell for $1, and then I saw some more that sold in the $40 and $50 and $60 range, but in the grand scheme of things, they're they're still pretty common, and they're not really that valuable. I know I see people all the time that have the Guild phone radio, and they think it's worth big bucks because it's a radio that's built into a telephone, and that's just not the case. You know, I picked them up for, I think the two I have, one of them I've paid about $35 for the tube one, and the transistorized one I didn't pay that much for it. So, you know, there again, just because it's old doesn't mean it's worth big bucks. There's got to be a demand for it. Here on the back it says Japan 713, and I'm sure 713 is the code for who made this, but I don't happen to know what that cross-references to. Alright, so here we go.
Products, quality service, quality PC.
This is an unprecedented time of instability and change.
Yeah, the overmodulated Southern Gospel Station.
The day he stepped on the campus at Clemson.
The Fox Sports Radio Station.
They saw him.
1 Front Street, historic downtown Meridian.
Come work out at a real gym. Shape Up 24/7 at 22.
WMOX, it has that raspy, staticky sound that you can hear in sync with the modulation.
And so much more. There's no fee to join, and you pay only $20 per month. That's right, only $20 a month, and that's for everything. No hidden.
And the Black Gospel Station. There's a weak station coming in. I think that's 670, the other Black Gospel Station. I got a little bit of false hope on Christmas Eve when I happened to tune into that station. They were playing Downtown by Petula Clark, and I asked myself, were they finally switching to oldies and dumping the Black Gospel format? So I listened until the song was through, and sadly it was nothing more than a black talk show host that was using that song in his program to talk about all of the lockdowns and stuff. And then as it happened the next day, some clown blew himself up in a motorhome, and they say he was playing Downtown out of the motorhome PA system, but I wonder if it was the Mears Miller version or the Petula Clark version. It sort of gives me an EOL idea for a Crosley record player, you know, beat up, worn out Mears Miller 45 of Downtown, a toy motorhome, and a Crosley record player. That should make for one heck of an EOL video. Tell me what you think about that.
Location of Bob's Auto Service, located 1811 11th Street, downtown Meridian. Foreign and domestic, major and minor repairs. Tony's Auto Service, open 7:30 until 5. Home of the Ugly Bunch. Call 601-482-0444. Write it down and stick it on the fridge. 601-482-0444. Tony's Auto Service. Tony Todd, master technician and owner.
Teamwork.
Okay, this one obviously wasn't as involved of a repair as some of the other ones we've worked on, but you know, I don't mind getting an easy one every once in a while. And for what this is, it sounds pretty good. It's not what I'd call a DX magnet, but it does pretty good. So we can go hammer a nail in the wall and hang this up somewhere.
Call us. We'll be glad to help.
Everyone at Van Zarverdin Incorporated wishes new head football coach Mike Leach, his new staff, Mississippi Bulldog.
Unless he has a great career. And so they're going to go with the safe pick because
but that doesn't make it right.
Self-preservation.
I think
I'm not saying it.
And no, I'm not recapping the chassis. The radio works as good as it ever worked, and there's no need to mess with it. Now, if it was one of those Sanyo built sets with the hard plastic case capacitors, then yeah, I'd probably change them. But I'm not doing any more to this than what I've already done. So there you go. Hope you got something out of all this, and more to come later.